Hey, so I'm apparently supposed to tell you that these videos aren't intended for children, so if you are a children, fuck off now. Thanks.
We should do an introduction or something, because it has been a while. Guys, we actually have a Robert this time. It's not just you guys stuck listening to my bullshit and me pretending to have friends by using a robot. I actually have... I wouldn't call him a friend.
Antagonist.
Yes.
I am your Quattrobagina to your... what the fuck's he called again? You named the Twitter after him. Camille Biden.
There you go. That's how much input Rob has on the Twitter, by the way. He can't even remember what we're called.
I came here to laugh at you, basically. Oh, the other thing is I've got a new chair, Dave, so you won't hear any squeaking.
Oh, thank God.
So what I can do is this, like, can you hear anything? Can you hear anything, Dave?
I can't.
Can you
no,
hear
it's like you can...
Help, the chair's now 180 degrees and dying.
Good. Hey, we decided, infinite in our wisdom, that...
We made a mistake!
We made a terrible mistake. Given our scheduling and our ability to organize and our complete lack of these skills, we decided, hey, let's watch a series with 49 fucking episodes in it. This was not a good idea. This was a terrible idea.
Technically, before you get any angrier, there's 47, because 2 of them are recap episodes.
That's true.
Back to back.
2 of them were recap episodes, and I skipped right the fuck over them when I realized what was going on, but technically it still counts, so 49 fucking episode show. Why did we do this?
People asked for it. Let's just pretend.
So, Gundam Wing, or Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, to give it its full fucking title, which is a 1995 anime television series created by Sunrise.
Actually, Dave, that's not what it's called. It's called New Mobile Report Gundam Wing.
Alright, that's the Japanese name, but we all watched this on Cartoon Network or Toonami when we were kids, so we call it Gundam Wing.
What a mistake that was.
It was alright. The robot fights look pretty good.
I just remember this. I remember this being hype as a kid, and having rewatched it, I was a dumb motherfucker.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
We decided, infinite in our wisdom, to watch 49 episodes of Gundam Wing.
Much like the series we're repeating.
Do you understand yet? Do you understand yet about Oz? Have we mentioned Oz yet? Have we described what Oz are? We've mentioned this name multiple times. We'll never tell you what it stands for. Organization of Zodiac, by the way. I looked that up. But we'll mention them a fuck of a lot.
And the not Rockefellers.
Not Rockefellers. Romefellers. Definitely not Rockefellers.
Organization of Zodiac. Rockefellers. Is this show anti-Semitic, Dave? Right, Dave, since I always do the summary of plots lately, let's continue.
Do the funny, Robert. That's what I don't pay you for.
So it's after Colony 175.
195.
And
you're already getting this wrong.
Is it 195?
It's 195.
After Colony 195, Operation Meteor begins, which is basically 9/11 in space.
But the guys doing 9/11 are the good guys now, okay? It's fine. It's good.
Is it?
No, it's not. It's technically child soldiers. It's technically deeply illegal, but it's fine.
Anyway, so like the space horsemen of the Gundam apocalypse like arrive on Earth to THING, but then other thing is occurring at the same time. So like these Gundam dudes are the good guys, but
sort of.
There's like a space coup going on. I'm trying to describe it like this because it's like, what? If you watch this, the plot makes no sense. Like, there's a kid that shows up in a boarding school and then tries to shoot someone, and then another kid shoots him, but they're both on the same side, but they don't know they're on the same side because they were all like, they're like all super weapons for 5 different terrorist cells.
And they decided that they weren't going to tell them that, oh, by the way, there might be some other guys who are aiming for the same thing as you, also flying robots. They come up with some bullshit excuse like they were working in secret, but how hard is it to mention, by the way, might be some other folk, you never know.
And there's a kingdom called Sonic that keeps being brought up, but it's not Sonic the Hedgehog.
It's also not relevant, even though they pretend it is, because it appears in like fucking 5 episodes and then they've already moved on to the next bullshit, because this show doesn't know what it's trying to do.
And not Char's there, and then not Sayla's there, and all these characters are there, but because there's 5 protagonists, and I say protagonists loosely because they're all arseholes. They're not likable characters, and it's just a mess.
There's some of them that...
Nah, don't even try and argue that any of them's likable. They're all fucking douches.
There's some of them that are a little bit more likable.
No, like who? I bet you can't even name them.
Quattro was alright. I like Duo. Duo's fun.
Is Duo the one that wears a trucker hat?
He's when he's in disguise, yeah. He keeps the exact same clothes. Which are very, very distinctive, by the way. He walks around in a priest's uniform, but he puts a trucker hat on so no one recognizes him. Spycraft.
It's just a mess, man. This is just...
It's...
I remember this so fondly, and then looking back at it, I'm just like... What the fuck is this shit?
This is why you don't revisit your childhood shows, because they never quite live up to what you remember them being. I'm going to read the synopsis directly from the Gundam.fandom wiki, and I probably said Gundam wrong again, but that just annoys you assholes, so I'm going to keep saying it this way. Gundam. Anyway, the story of Gundam Wing begins in the year after Colony 195 with the start of Operation Meteor. 5 disgruntled scientists plan for revenge against the tyrannical Oz military organization for their oppression over the space colonies. Basically, a bunch of scientists decide that they're going to build some really big, hype, giant robots. And Gundamium or something, I don't fucking know. A made up metal. Unobtainium. This being a show from the 90s that is anime and a successor to something written by Tomino, these scientists, infinite in their wisdom, decide to get a bunch of teenage boys to pilot it rather than actual soldiers because reasons they don't really explain why. It's a very fine line and a shift in perspective between these scientists being the good guys and this being anime beasts of no nation, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Child soldiers are fine. It's anime. It's all good. This isn't deeply concerning.
Let's click on what ages these characters are. Oh no.
There's a lot of fan fiction out there, by the way, and they're all quite young. Problematic.
Can't use that word around here.
I'll use whatever goddamn word I choose, sir.
We're the problematic ones here.
That's true. Yeah, we are. Why do people hang out with us?
They don't.
No, it's true. They don't. Ostensibly, the main character of this series is a guy called Hiro Yui, or something like that. I'm definitely saying
Hiro Yui.
Yui, whatever. They spell it strange. Who is basically a psychopath whose default programming is try and murder Relena, but we'll get to that later.
I had my pieces.
Your pieces?
My guns.
Oh.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang!
You've got a bunch of other pilots as well. You've got Duo Maxwell, who's the guy who wanders around in the fucking Pope uniform. Troa Barton, who they try and turn into an interesting character, but they seem to be mistaking make the character suffer with being an interesting character. We got Quattro Ribera Winner.
That's the test tube baby guy.
Yeah, he's the little blonde one. He's probably the most fleshed out of a lot of them, but
who cares?
And then you've got Chang Wu-fei, who is literally convinced that he is the main character of this show, and no amount of lack of screen time will convince him otherwise.
He's also like convinced he's like some kind of Chinese deity.
A lot of them do seem to think that they're gods, like Duo constantly refers to himself as an angel of death and things like that. These are deeply traumatized young men that are being used as soldiers. It's a bit fucked up.
Remember, the plot of this film literally ends with, and then everything was okay.
And then we force a happy ending and still manage to get a fucking colony drop in there as well. It wouldn't be a Gundam series without something being fired from space at the Earth and a bunch of it getting destroyed. It's got some staples to keep to.
Like child soldiers.
Like child soldiers. That's a really important one.
And psychological scar.
So this was like the second spin-off series, I guess you could call, of Gundam.
No, this is like the second outside of Universal Century.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. So you had G Gundam, which was
94.
Yeah, literally the year before then, yeah. And then they tried it with this one as well, because this was not a good time to be Gundam or Sunrise. They were struggling a wee bit with this. It wasn't really doing well in Japan.
It's because they had like Gundam Zeta, Double Zeta, and that kind of Double Zeta was not that well liked, and then Char's counterattack was alright. No one really raved about it, and then there's F91 Gundam, and then there's Victory.
Universal Century is a fucking strange timeline. But yeah, I think they decided that they were going to try spinning it off into other settings and trying to make the concept and like some of the themes of Gundam work without all of the baggage that you have from something as long running and as well liked as Universal Century. So G Gundam was the first try for that. Try being the emphasis. And
do you know how many episodes G Gundam is, Dave?
I don't even want to think about it.
49.
Fuck. That's a triggering number for me.
Wing inherits a lot of problems with G Gundam, because G Gundam was slightly popular because they kept like the 5 protagonists. They kept this campy vibe, but tried to write in a serious plot into Wing, and it's just like...
Yeah, it felt like a weird mishmash of things. Like, they were clearly trying to capture some of that real robot, military sci-fi kind of thing that Universal Century is beloved for. And in some ways, they managed to do that. And in other ways, they really, really, really did not. It's like trying to combine military sci-fi with like a fucking shonen plot or something. It's really weird. So Wing, that was their 95 release and their second sort sort of spin-off of Universal Century, let's call it. Not so popular in Japan. I think it wasn't bad. It did okay, but again, this was like the time when Gundam wasn't doing so great out in Japan.
It's the time when all mecha wasn't doing great. To be
honest. And it was in a bit of a downward time for the mecha genre as a whole. We're getting back to it a little bit just now, but still.
And I mean, Gundam's coming back as well, and then Macross.
Yeah, Macross. Legend of Galactic Heroes is kind of bringing back the space opera sort of thing as well.
I really need to watch the new series, but I also really need to watch the old series. So
you've not ascended to like the next level of weebdom until you've watched all of the original
Dave,
series.
Are you ready? Are you ready, Dave? I've read the books. Fuck off.
Boy, that flex. That flex. I think the big reason why everyone still talks about Wing, though, is the fact that a little American network called Cartoon Network, you might have heard of them. They picked it up. That was a lot of people's first experience with this weird genre.
Do you know what the weird thing with that is, though, right? It's not the first stuff to have been brought across. It's the first one that got like traction, if you know what I mean. Because they did the compilation movies, then they did War in the Pocket, and then I think if I remember rightly, they released Wing. But there's two big things that they did with Gundam Wing, right? Which was the promo of the series, which was done really well. Bandai themselves actually used the promotion for it stuff. So what they did was, leading up to the series premiere, was to use a voice actor who became famous for what he did during the opening credits for Ultron, if I remember rightly. And if you don't know who that actor is, his name is Optimus Prime.
you may have heard of him.
Yeah.
In the distant future, mankind has reached the stars, but the galaxy is troubled.
But yeah, so Peter Cullen does all these promos for the series, like, after Colony 195, all that crap. It's great. It's basically how they advertised. And the other thing they did was they had two versions airing on Cartoon Network. So they had a daytime version and a after midnight version. So after the midnight version, they had all the blood, the profanity, as well as the word kill. So that's why like the God of Death and stuff has changed to the Great Destroyer and stuff like that. They put a lot of money into advertising Gundam when Cartoon Network did, not Bandai.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's in some ways it's a really, really good way to introduce people to the whole concept of mecha and giant robots and space war and all that shit. It clearly worked because this was a massive success over here in the Western Hemisphere. This was the thing that kicked off a lot of interest in mecha as a whole, Gundam in particular, and yeah, it's something that remains beloved by many people who are no doubt going to be leaving nasty comments below calling us cunts.
Joke's on them, they have to fight me to leave bad comments.
And he has done nothing but lift weights for the last 2 months instead of actually fucking recording anything. I guess next thing that we can talk about would be the production staff.
There's some big names here.
Yeah, the production staff is a really fucking weird mix of absolute legends of this genre and like the anime industry in general, and then some people that nobody's ever heard of and have never done anything of note since or before. How the fuck they landed this gig, I don't know, but it makes sense because this was like just a random wee spin-off that got big over here in the West, which is why we're talking about it. Let's have a look and see me butcher some names. The main leadership and writers of this series were not particularly well known and aren't even particularly well known now. You had a guy called Shinji Takamatsu, who was one of the directors. He's like a Gintama guy. He's done a lot of anime for that. And then you had Masashi Ikeda, I think I'm saying that right, I'm probably not, who is like an Inuyasha guy. That's his jam. Same goes for the main script dude as well, who is
Katsuaki Sumizawa.
He's done a lot of stuff with Tomino. He did that Brain Tower.
Oh, is he brain powered as well?
Yeah, and he's done Macross.
He's still very much involved in Gundam Wing to this day as well. I think he's still writing books for it. So like this is kind of his baby.
You know what you should do? Try and pronounce all their names in a Glaswegian accent. Masashi Ikeda.
Shinsuke Nakamura, you fucking dopehole. Okay, Dad.
Anyway, so like the main leadership of this series, or the main production staff of this series, not a huge amount to write home about. Don't get me wrong, they have achieved way more than I ever will in my lifetime.
No, Dave, you might kill yourself yet. Come on now.
But I think the two main people to actually write home about when it comes to the production staff, first we'll talk about is a cheeky wee chap that people who are into Gundam might have heard of, called Kunio Okawara. I'm probably saying that wrong. Let's just go with Okawara. I can actually say that vaguely correctly. He's the mechanical designer of this show, and he is literally the mechanical designer. He is the first man ever to have been credited with that as a production role. He is basically the guy who designed the image of Gundam. He worked very, very closely with Tomino in the original series to design like the Gundam model and also the Zaku model. So two of the most defining characteristics of this entire series as a whole. This is the motherfucker who made those designs. That's how influential he is. He did a lot of the designs for this show, which is why the designs for this show are so fucking good.
Yeah, no, the mecha designs in this is fucking nuts. Like, as much as I want to hate this, it's just
yeah, you can't. Cool. The robots look fucking cool. The Death Scythe looks fucking cool. Gundam Zero looks fucking cool. Even the fucking Devilman robot looks fucking cool. Honestly, one of the main reasons why I think this show did so well is because everyone was absolutely taken with these designs and this whole look of, oh my god, mecha, this is really, really interesting. I've never seen anything like this before. And this was the guy who'd originally made that design. And another particular aspect of the production staff is the composer, who is Ko Otani.
He's a Godzilla guy, is he not?
He has done some Godzilla. He did the entire soundtrack for Shadow of the Colossus as well. So the man knows how to put together fucking dope soundtrack.
Oh, he did Giant Monsters All Out Attack, which if you haven't watched is the tits.
Yep, that was him. He's done a lot, but I think Shadow of the Colossus is the thing that he's probably most well known for, and to be fair, he deserves to be well known for that. That soundtrack is fucking amazing, and so is the soundtrack for Wing as well. I love the music in this. Let's try and talk about the characters, I suppose, because we have touched upon the cast. Some of them are interesting and some of them are awful.
Dave, the only character I can describe is not Char and not Sailor, but that's only because I'm describing not Char and not Sailor. They're like from a family of pacifists that suddenly are thrust upon the world and are now in charge of like the most militarized fashions ever.
Where have we heard this before? I wonder.
From not Gundam.
Definitely not Gundam. He's definitely not just a rework of Char. Absolutely not. Like, Zex is so not Char that he definitely does not go mad with power and definitely doesn't then start, gathering underage girls around him as
Right. Yeah, that's the only thing I was going to say. There's no one that's going to be a mother to him. Gundam Wing has these nearly interesting characters that are cool concepts and just... But that's it. It's like...
I love that.
Mockery. Oh, Master, I do not trust you. I cannot trust you or anyone ever again.
They try really hard with this too to try and make some interesting characters. They just can't do it. Every single one of the main characters in this show have the potential to be really, really interesting, but they either don't give them enough screen time or give them lots of screen time but write it terribly, or they just completely forget they exist for extended periods of time in the case of Chang Wu-fei. Honestly, I liked Juo. Juo was interesting. I liked the way they wrote him. He was this weird mix of like over cocky and arrogant mixed with this real sense of self-loathing, and that carried over into like the way he acted in combat as well. There's an interesting character there, and maybe they flesh him out. I don't know. I've already watched 49 fucking episodes. I know there's going to be some guy in the comments saying, oh, but in the OVA they do...
Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
They had 49 episodes to do that. The relationship between Relina and Hiro, I love how they try and pretend that this is like a romantic thing, when Hiro spends a good solid chunk of this actively plotting and attempting to murder her, and she's fine with that, and that's weird. Once again, Gundam cannot fucking write a romance subplot to save their lives. In this one, they just make it deeply unhealthy instead. I guess let's try and find something out of this that we enjoyed.
It was only 625 minutes long.
Thanks, Sunrise. Anyway, positives. Robert, you enjoyed things, right? You know what happiness is?
No.
Fuck.
Nah, I really like the opening. I will always have a soft spot for just communication, like Jude. I do like the mecha designs as well. As much as I slate everything in this, I actually like Wing. It's a struggle to, like, the way I remember is watching it, like, a weekend episode, you know what I mean? You weren't watching, like, the way we've done it is just powered through it, and that's why it's a struggle. Like,
you bring up a good point about the music as well, actually. The music in this is pretty fucking great. Again, both of the aspects that relate back to like Okawara and Otani. The music is fantastic. I love how there's a lot of themes for particular characters used. Once a certain beat kicks in, once a certain theme kicks in, you're like, oh, cool, Juo's about to fuck some shit up. And then sure enough, Juo appears, fucks some shit up. It's great. I love it. That's how you should use music, and kind of, I do feel this is a very shonen-like show.
Yeah.
And Shonen, for all its many, many faults, has always been very, very clever when it comes to using music and themes in order to catch the audience's attention or put you in a particular mindset. And it's designed to be that sort of upbeat, get your blood flowing sort of thing.
It's like at the end of this when just communication starts playing, you're like, we're done, go.
Great fucking theme. Love it. I love the idea of like making it a little bit more of a shonen show as well, and like having these like absolute murder machines that are the Gundam, and like the way they appear initially in the show where they just pitch up on Earth and fuck shit up. It's great to watch. It's really, really great to watch because you're used to Gundam being this very much like war drama sort of thing, and now suddenly sometimes you just want to watch a giant robot smash things, and this delivers in that in a big way. Anyway, that was a section where we attempted to cover the positives. Those are some positives about Gundam Wing. Now let's actually talk about what we want to talk about and what's going to make you guys really fucking angry.
Right, before I go into this, I fucking hate Gundam Wing. It's a piece of shit.
A push for time. Can you sum it up in a word? No. A sound?
Characters are crap, the story's crap, the plot, it's just dire, man. And like, yeah, the fights are good, but they happen for no fucking reason. Yeah, the music's great, but again, they're to fights that have no fucking meaning. The whole story has no fucking meaning. At the end of the day, the plot revolves around like, there we go, everything's fixed now. It was peace on our times, and it's like,
we're rebelling now. Why are you doing that? I don't know, the plot demands it.
Coos! It's not that it's shite, it's just it's shite. Like, fuck off.
The plot doesn't go anywhere for like extended stretches of time, and then they try and do a Raymond Chandler where it's like, and then Oz pitch up with some nasty robots. There is probably an amazing mecha series buried underneath these issues. And again, I'm sure they do answer a lot of my problems that I have with this, with the OVAs and some of the later series that they do, like the backstories of these characters. I've seen some of the summaries on different fan pages and things like that, and I can fucking assure you that they didn't cover any of that in the 49 episodes they had to cover it. I just feel that maybe some of the chaff could have been cut from this main series, and instead of having to deal with extended periods of basically nothing happening of any importance, we could explore the backstories of the main characters, or we could cut some of the superfluous plots and just get to where the writers want the plot to eventually be, which is, you know, planet Earth versus the colonies, which have been militarized.
More importantly, there's not a beach episode, and that is a down point.
It is.
In my
Minus points.
Don't you want to see a Gundam in a bikini? Because I do. Yeah, it's just one of them fucking... It's just a bad show.
I wouldn't even call it a bad show. It's a very, very deeply flawed show that is still absolutely beloved by people who have not watched it in a very long time. The last time they watched it, they were 12, and it was their first Gundam, and it was their first mecha. I don't regret watching it, to be honest. It's really interesting to see. I get why this series was as successful as it was, and why it is as well regarded as it remains to this day. But yeah... Oh boy, there's a lot of problems here. And if you really, 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 really love it, yeah, that's fair enough. I get why. I still have very, very fond memories of like Dragon Ball Z and all of those sort of shows that we were watching when we were younger as well. I will still fight anyone who claims that Full Metal Alchemist, the original series, is bad, even though Brotherhood is better. It was like the first series I watched. I get it. It's your jam. But you're allowed to sort of look back at things and go, that was a bit shit.
Why did we watch this, Dave?
You were the one who fucking picked it.